All right. Welcome back to the channel. First video that I'm going to make on the subject of Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, who passed in a car accident. And now I'm going to do it in defense of his memory and not allowing people that were never fans of his to begin with to use his name to try to tear down Floyd Mayweather Jr. We're going to talk about that in this video. All right. Welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Also, I want to thank you so much to the patrons. You're going to see the names of our patrons go across the bottom of the screen. Special thanks to those guys. I hope if you are a long time, really, come to the live streams and talk about the talk that we talk. I hope you go over and sign up for the Patreon. We got a lot of political and business issues that we talk about over there. I think that you'll be empowered and informed by participating. Also, I want to thank you. Special shout out to the cats like Gregory Wyatt, and other subscribers. Anthony Johnson comes to mind. A whole bunch of guys, Sugar Fantastic, that are always in the live streams, that are supporting the channel through the super chats. Really, you guys make the channels click. So much appreciate you. Thank you very much. Now let's get into this video. Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker was one of the greatest. Andre Ward put out a tweet the other day that I really hit me because, I think that, Sweet Pea is obviously a great fighter. One of the best 135-pound fighters I've ever seen. One of the best fighters I've ever seen. I started paying attention to him kind of during a lull, like towards the end of me picking up watching boxing again, the late 1980s, early 1990s. He's a few years older than me. He won an Olympic gold medal in the 1984 Olympics. He was in the Olympics along with Evander Holyfield. So he's a little bit older. He was a little bit, rest in peace, a little bit older than me. And, I was kind of coming off the Sugar Ray Leonard, and that was before, before I really started getting back into it. I was watching Mike Tyson, but I wasn't watching as much of the lower weight classes, but I knew who Sweet Pea was. And I started watching Sweet Pea pretty much right around the Julio Cesar Chavez senior fight. And you could tell this guy was just on something in that ring, man. But what Andre Ward said was that, he's not, these people are calling him one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. That's an insult. He's one of the greatest fighters of all time. You don't get to break out and segment off one aspect of the guy and then say, yeah, you were really, really great at defense. But what, is he missing something? He's missing offense? No, he was not missing offense. The dude was connecting on a regular basis. Dude is an all-around game. The dude is a great fighter. It's disrespectful to section this guy off and call him a great defensive fighter. We don't do that in the other way around for certain type of fighters that they want to put up. Like, does anybody say Gennady Golovkin is just a great offensive fighter, implying that he doesn't have any defense? No. Was Oscar De La Hoya just a great offensive fighter, even though that was a stronger part of his game? But yet they say, well, he's a great offensive fighter. No, he's this all-around great fighter, right? Floyd Mayweather, they do that for Floyd Mayweather Jr. Great defensive fighter. He's not a defensive fighter. He's a great fighter. He can fight. He does what he needs to do to win a boxing match, okay? There's offense and defense. Yes, there's aspects of hit and don't get hit. Yes, Pernell Whitaker was great at not getting hit, but that's the sport of boxing. And he was great at hitting, okay? He was great at touching you. He was great at not getting touched. But that's not necessarily the subject of this one. I read some articles and I've been listening to some things that several people talked about. But trying to use, all of a sudden now, it's becoming popular to say that tear down Floyd Mayweather Jr. at the expense, tear down Floyd Mayweather Jr. while you're faking like you're celebrating Pernell Whitaker. You're saying Pernell Whitaker was this great fighter. Oscar De La Hoya said he was the best defensive fighter he ever fought. Whatever the freak that means again. But, he's better than Floyd. Jeff Finnick is like, yeah, he's better than, he's a much more difficult fight than Floyd. Immediately comparing Pernell Whitaker to Floyd, saying in one of these articles, they said that anybody that would say that they're the best ever immediately doesn't deserve to be considered that. And then they proceed to talk about how Pernell Whitaker was better than Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a great fighter. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is not a great defensive fighter. He has great defense. He has great offense. That was not defense strictly that beat the tar out of Arturo Gatti. That was not strictly defense that allowed him to beat Floyd Mayweather, to beat Oscar De La Hoya. Because if all he had was defense and all he was able to do is not allow you to touch him, then he would not have been able to keep Oscar De La Hoya's jab at home. There's a reason why Oscar De La Hoya stopped jabbing in that fight. He stopped jabbing in that fight because he kept getting touched every time he threw it. So he made him stop. That is a great fighter. But I'm not as much criticism as I have for Floyd Mayweather Jr. The hypocrisy that's going on here with these now new fake Pernell Whitaker fans who I have not heard mention in their top 10 greatest fighters ever yet. Well, who's the greatest fighters of the last 20 years? You hear Roberto Duran, you'll hear Sugar Ray Leonard, maybe you'll hear this guy, you hear that guy. Very rarely did you hear Sweet Pea. Very rarely do you hear Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea is a guy that you'll hear Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Rarely do you hear Sweet Pea, the guy that was clearly a better fighter than Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was. Senior was clearly better than Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. But Julio Cesar Chavez, clearly a better fighter than Julio Cesar Chavez. Clearly a better fighter than Oscar De La Hoya. Is the only guy that I think Pernell Whitaker ever really lost to was Tito Trinidad. And this guy's a lightweight. Trinidad is a guy that wound up being able to compete and win championships at 154 pounds. But all of this nonsense reminds me of the treatment that you get when these great fighters pass away or they're no longer able to display the skills that irritate you in the moment. Like a Muhammad Ali. My favorite fighter of all time, without a doubt. Muhammad Ali was despised when he was actually fighting. Despised. Until it became unpopular to openly despise him. Then he became tolerated by the people that couldn't stand him. And he had a lot of different fans and he became a big monetary attraction in boxing. So there was no choice but to profile him. But it was once he lost his speech, because Muhammad Ali in a lot of ways, the true personality of Muhammad Ali, the true things that stood out about him, which for the most part were outside the ring, left in around 1982 when he lost his ability to speak and really didn't regain his public profile again until I believe it was the 1996 Olympics when he was a torchbearer in the Olympics and, was shaking and jogged. Like they celebrated Muhammad Ali in his weakness, but they chastised him when he was strong. Pernell Whitaker is now past. I hear next to no appreciation for Pernell Whitaker since the day that he retired out of these people. And now they try to use him as they try to, first of all, section off a significant portion of his accomplishments and minimize him into this label called a defensive fighter. And then to try to use him and as a way to tear down the currently considered by many people, not by me, but by many people, the greatest fighter alive, Floyd Mayweather Jr., by comparison, it's just low. It's just low. It shouldn't be tolerated. It's not going to be tolerated on this channel. And I'm speaking up about it. Look, we lost a great fighter, a great ambassador to boxing in Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker represented what boxing should be about, in my opinion, in that ring. The science of boxing. There is a book called Boxiana, where they studied the history of the prize fighter from, I think it was like 1790 to 1800, right around that time. They start talking about Tom Cribb. They talk about all the prize fighters in the UK. And one thing that they talked about with Tom Cribb, the first real significant champion out of in the heavyweight in boxing, right? Prize fighting / boxing. Was that he brought science to the sport. They referred to him as a scientist. The fact that He was not just bearing down on you, that he was not just trying to, what they call mill, throw a bunch of punches and, till somebody tires out and see who can take the most money, take the most shot. He would back away. If you try to fight him, he would back away. He would fight on the back foot. He would make you miss, make you counter. They refer to it as the science of boxing with Tom Cribb. And that's what Floyd Mayweather Jr. exhibits. That is what Pernell Whitaker exhibits. He exhibits the science of boxing, the high IQ of boxing. Do you hear anybody referring to Pernell Whitaker as having a high boxing IQ? He's just a defensive fighter. Lomachenko, that's a high IQ. He's thinking, he sees, he makes sure he sees, he can't be touched. He's thinking. But Pernell Whitaker is defensive. It's ridiculous, man. And I think that type of crap should be called out, that even that little phrase of the defensive fighter. He's a defensive fighter. But Lomachenko is a high IQ fighter, even though defense is a significant portion of Lomachenko's game. Anyway, that's what boxing is about. It's about being hit and not being hit. And Pernell Whitaker is one of the greatest ever at hitting and not being hit. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.